back at the tax at hand. Let's get into the Main Financial Group Game Day Stat Breakdown, brought to you by Main Financial, Spartan Nation's #1 wealth manager. Visit mainfinancialgroup.com. Jordan and the guys over there at Main Financial Group take great care of you. Put those stats back up for a second. We got Noah Kim. Spartans are 2-1. They fall to Washington 41-7. Noah Kim 12 of 31 for 136 yards and an interception. Chew?
Yeah, you go to me for this, huh? Because
hey, listen. Hey,
it's that old additive. It's that old additive.
Come on now.
As my grandpappy would say, the same thing that make you laugh will make you cry, and we're all crying right now. But the whole thing is this: at the end of the day, we could not get in any type of rhythm from the offensive side of things. We could not get in any type of rhythm. And it was a lot predicated too because we could not establish a run game. Yeah. And when you can't establish a run game, it's really, really tough to call plays offensively because you become very one-dimensional. You get, they know, hey, they can't run the football, so we're going to put a type of defense in there, and we're going to tee off on the quarterback. And then we're going to sit back, and we know they're passing the football. Now, your secondary, your DBs and stuff, they're on their heels as opposed to on their toes trying to decipher is it run or pass now, because if you can't establish a run game, you don't have access to fully your playbook. So that was one of the biggest things. I think our offensive line, they got handled, to put it in a nice way on Saturday, by Washington's defensive line. And it is what it is. And, Coach D always said, we are who we are. And that day we were who we were. We were a team that could not establish the run game, and we couldn't make adjustments to do different things. So when you can't establish, when you're unable to establish the run game, what a lot of teams tend to do is they tend to say, okay, we can't establish a run game. I'm going to just put my quarterback in and we're going to throw the football around the yard. But what you have to do is, one, you have to first build your quarterback's confidence up. You got to do what they call high percentage throws. You got to come up with different ways. Put 3 steps, get the ball out of his hands, give it to your running back in the flats, set up screens, and let your playmakers do it. Do a jet sweep, do a reverse, do different creative things that can get some type of momentum going for you offensively. And even if you don't score, helps you move down the field and gives your defense some time to rest on the sidelines as well and keep the high-powered Washington offense off the field. We were not able to be creative on the offensive side of the ball. We were not stout up front with our front 5, and Washington's defense had a field day with us.
Speaking of the overall stats, you look at the total yards for Michigan State. 261 yards of total offense to Washington's 713 yards of total offense. It was a clinic. And Otis, when you look at what Michael Penix was able to do, Michael Penix Jr., coming into this game, we knew he was a good player. Last year, we've seen him a few times now as an Indiana quarterback and as a Washington Husky quarterback. 375 yards, I believe 4 touchdowns in the first half for Michael Penix.
Frustrating, obviously, to say the least. Where's the competitiveness in our guys of we knew what he was going to do. What is the element of where is the leadership on the field? Like, coaches make the calls, players play. But, where was the leadership of the guys of hey, coach, I got so much confidence in my leadership. Call a timeout. Let's reset here, because this was an element of just they had consistency going down in the pace down the field in big plays. They knew the holes in our defense, and they just basically took from last year and just rolled over into this year of we're going to do the same thing. We're just going to keep coming. We're going to keep coming, and eventually they'll fold early or they'll wear down. And I think from an element, there was no one on that D that I saw that was stepping up and vocalizing and trying to get this thing back. One stop, one play at a time, one stop, guys. We just need one stop. Momentum changes. Like, I think that's an element of the weight of what was happening this past week. I think that just ultimately just takes it out of them. But like, I feel like this is, in order to turn the tide, we're gonna have to have some guys and the players, not just your main guys that are your Trey Mosleys and your captains. It's got to come from guys that we know have opportunities to lead, and they just did not.
You know, you saw players. I mean, I've seen breakdowns happen on one side of the ball or certain areas, certain levels of the defense or offensive line's not clicking, but it seemed to be across the board, the performances. And I talking to coaches, they said that they seen things they had never seen out of players on Saturday on the field. And, we had the videos all broken down, but we have some video issues right now. I wish we could show you some of these things in color. So for those listening on podcast and versus the people here on YouTube, it's about the same. So we're trying to be descriptive here, but there was a play where Michael Penix, took the snap in his own end zone by the tunnel. And he camps out, about 5-6 yards deep in the end zone. I mean, there's barely any pressure. I think late in there, Derek Harmon did come in late as he let go of the ball and hit him. But, I mean, the ball's in the air. The linebackers, there was 3 backers. It was like the base 4-3 defense. They're standing at the sticks. And Otis, you can help me with this as defensive guy. There's 3 linebackers standing at the 10-yard, the first down marker level. They didn't care about the first down. He throws it 60 yards in the air for a first down over the 50 to Odunze. And there was like no contest for it. I saw Bradley going up there. So tell me what your thoughts on that.
I mean, let's just at the end of obviously no pressure to the last second. That's not blaming the front. They did what they're supposed to do. But for us, like you saw Odunze have Chuck blocked, like boxed out. Like no matter what he could have done, he was boxed out. Like if he would have went inside, it would have probably been a touchdown because if he would have undercutted it, or if he would have honestly, if you can't, it's like pass interference to solidify another down. But the safety, on my standpoint, I'm looking at the safety. This is not just a rope, right? It wasn't a laser. This had a little bit of a punt trajectory, like an Aaron Rodgers would do on like desperation, but it was right then and there, right where it needed to be. As a safety, though, I'm looking at Penix. I'm looking at if I go left, he's basically trying to look me off. So I don't know what happened, but we obviously are late to the game on the safety spot. Chuck was in position. Like he couldn't do anything better than he was in position at the hip. But as a safety, you got to go out there and grab it out the air. Like it has so much time to where that could have been an interception or a pass breakup from the safety. And yes. And so there's this elements of, yes, we have some great safeties. They're young still. And you got to take that consideration too, that they're still young and you're playing a high-powered offense on a primetime kickoff against an opponent that you didn't have that much time playing against last year. But you got to go out there and get that ball out the sky and aggressively. And I think that's an element that we just didn't have from the safeties too, is you got to be present and helping these corners out on that deep post.
Michael Penix, JU, he ends up 27 of 35, 473 yards, keeping his average well over the 460 yards per game. And almost 300-yard receivers. Odunze, 8 catches for 180 yards. Polk, 5 catches for 118. And Jalen McMillan, 4 catches for 96. 2 of the 3 of those guys look to be called, their name to be called in the first round of the NFL draft, along with Michael Penix Jr.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And let's not lose focus here. All right. One, we got drugged. They dragged us through on our own home field. We know that, we get it. But also give credit to those guys. They had some athletes on that team. The wide receivers, very impressive, strong hands. If you had a DB that's, on their lower body, those guys are plucking the ball and hanging onto that football, in there. So they had some really good athletes on that field there too. But I also feel we did not play up to par. I think, to Otis's point, you have a play until you get punched in the mouth. We got punched in the mouth, and we just didn't know how to respond. And the big thing is, and I guarantee you this, Washington's head coach was in that locker room all week long. He told those guys, two things are going to happen, guys. One, the Spartans are going to come out there and they're going to be really inspired and play through. It's going to be a tough game. Or two, if we go out there and continually punch them in the mouth, they're going to crack. And the latter seemed to happen. We cracked, but you know what? As they say, 2 tears in a bucket. You know the rest. But we gotta learn, and we gotta move on from it. There, we give Washington their props, give them their flowers. They were a hell of a ball club. They came in.
That's a CFP team right there. That's a college football playoff team right there. Like,
exactly.
No doubt about it. Yeah, no doubt. But the competitiveness, it wasn't at that level where
it was not there.
Yeah, it wasn't there.
That play right there. You see that one? That was one of the bright spots. You have Simeon Barrow hitting the arm of Michael Penix, which caused the errant throw on third down. There was some bright spots early, especially in the first quarter defensively. And then there was a play where I think it was a third down and long situation, and the true freshman, Jordan Hall, was able to get a hand on it. He tips the ball, and in that situation, 9 times out of 10, that's an interception because it was floating up there. You saw
it last night in the Steeler game. A tip ball, it was a pick six.
Yeah. Yeah.
Look, I wish we would play that
touchdown though. That's when you know you're having a really, really bad day. But go ahead.
I wish we play that play when they was driving on the goal line and Jordan came in and knocked that running back out. You know what I'm saying? From the standpoint, that's that gall, like that's that dog right there. Like, we're getting stomped, and you see him playing still and like still emotional and still passionate. And I was like, it's time we got to figure out who really wants to be out there fully competing every down. Like, we got to find those guys, and we have them, but you got to bring it out. And
that is
Jordan legit got that.
You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right, Otis. That's when you find out what a true dog is. When you're getting your ass kicked like that, and you're still playing, you come up with a big hit and you're getting excited and you're showing emotion. What that says is it means something to you, and you care. You give a damn. That is what it showed last night. And like I said, I'm thoroughly impressed with Jordan Hall. I think he did a tremendous job. Now others need to follow that kid's lead. They need to follow his lead there, because that kid's a stud. And what these kids have to realize too, before we get off this topic here, and I think, we talk about this, behind the scenes, how the game has changed, with the influences of NIL and, people making, this amount of money, that amount of money. What they forget is, man, you almost got me there. I almost dropped that F-bomb. Forget NIL. Think NFL. This is when we played, all three of us on this thing. When we had games like this, we circled those because that was our money game. That we called those money game, because those are games that you go out there, you put film on tape for the scouts, because it's a top 10 opponent coming into your stadium where you're going there. That's the game that they're going to be like, okay, what is he doing on best? How are they performing? Not Central Michigan, not Richmond, but those types of games. And when we go into the Big Ten schedule, but those games early in the season was circled by us, and they were called money games.
And you know who did circle it was Washington. Because now you're going to see all those receivers and those highlights in the NFL, and it's going to be deep balls caught. And that right there, and that frustrated, that gets me so fired up, man. Like, it's just, and I know we're going to see, practice tomorrow morning, and you just got to see a different tone, different energy. Like, listen, we know we didn't put the great product out, but we still got a long season to go. So let's tighten it up, man. Like, that's really like this. It's just one loss, but the way we lost is really the most impact versus just the one on the loss column.
Yeah, they beat us into thinking we're 0-3 right now, but we're 2-1.
He's like, absolutely.
All is not lost, you know, when you look at Michigan State's season, and they obviously had a bad go at things. But look, college football, I'm not just going to say young people are resilient, but the way college football goes, I mean, you can see a team rally and have really bad performances and snap back and then go on a run. They can. It's a complete possibility, but everybody's got to be on the same page and everybody's got to have the same focus and attention to detail that it takes. You know, a lot of times, you know, pressure can do two things. We all know it can burst pipes and it can make diamonds. And they're under pressure right now, internally and externally. But the only thing that matters is those young men that are on that field on Saturday, whoever those 11 are out there. And I mean that 11, not 12 with the special teams, 11 that are on the field at any given time. You just play that play to the best of your damn ability, man, and with everything you have, and good things happen when you do that. Guys, look, I know we can
listen before you go. Wait.
Slow it down, fellas. Let's go.
All right, go.
Go ahead.
Go.
Question for you, Otis. Watching our defense against Washington's offense, and we talked about this, playing some press coverage and everything like that. We played a lot of the zone. We were dropping in the zone and everything. And Maryland had similar offense like that. We're going to talk in depth about Maryland on Thursday. We're going to break down film and everything like that. But would you have continued to play that soft zone and try to like have that keep everything in front of you mentality, or what would you like from a DB side of things?
Well, it's tough for me because it's like we pressed. I don't care. We're gonna beat you at the line. Like win the battle at the line.
When you're saying
right?
we, what do you mean we?
Like I'm saying playing as a player. When I play, like there's a difference where we had corners and we have those corners, but like you got to take it. This is a competition, bro. Like this is 1-on-1 every down. We got to win the battle, and we're pressing, and we're gonna live and die by the press. Now, there's times where you switch it up because you got pressures, and you got to do some zone. But mano a mano, man, like win the battle at the line. There's elements of like even rerouting when you get to the running back drops to hook curl. Like you got to knock these receivers off their lines. Like these receivers are coming full speed off the line, not touched. And I got to backpedal and turn my hips as quickly as possible to adjust. Where a linebacker, or even if we're cover two, corners are able to slow it down just by punching a couple times, just making it a struggle. Some of these times where these guys are coming free, wide open, and Penix is just sitting back there looking at different progressions, hit the fifth option. Like he had every option open. And that's an element of I'm trying to punch you in the mouth every down, every play. And we live and die by it. That's just my mentality. And I think that's where, like, we got to line it up and we got to say, hey, we got dogs too. And we're going to have to be able to rise up and let's just live and die by pressing. And, like, because right now, we got to slow it down. We got to slow it down because you got another quarterback coming in here who torched us at every level last year. And that was midline, behind the linebackers and our safeties. And you look at that first drive that Maryland did last year, it's going to be trouble if we don't slow it down. If we gotta fight them coming off the line. A great question, but I want to add to it. Coach B's going to get us right. Like you heard, I have full confidence Coach B's going to get us right, and that's why I said it's one loss. But you got to know Coach Barnett is in the vault right now, and he's about to get these guys right and tight. So buckle your seatbelts, still support. But if you ain't in there supporting.
Plenty of football left.
Plenty of football left. Don't be a fair weather. Don't be a fair weather. That's all I say.
Hold on. So Trevor, Trevor brought up the question I think that you asked Chew about the defensive zones and all that. And you said, it seems we had no pressure. Can't we use some Narduzzi A-gap blitzes or something? Now, I called the game and I thought that I saw a lack of pressure coming from the linebackers. But upon further review, there were pressures coming. And it was mostly in the first half when the game wasn't completely out of reach. I don't know why we wouldn't continue like when the game got out of reach to put pressure, but there was pressure coming. There was linebacker A-gap blitzes. There was a lot of, not the cross A-gap blitz, but there was pressure from Halliday. There was pressure from Brule. I saw it. I saw they were sending guys. They were sending corner blitzes. There was pressure. They just weren't getting home because the offensive line was doing such a great job. We opted to do a lot of stunts, twists that, we have big defensive linemen, and large defensive linemen are just not really quick as an offensive lineman. When you're trying to twist and stun on me, you better be damn fast, and you got to get to, ear hole guys. That's what they teach them, to try to, whoever the penetrating guy is has to ear hole the center or the guard, whoever it is, to get him off his rocker, and then the looper has an opportunity to get to the quarterback. But when we're averaging about 6'5", 310 across the board on the defensive line, just not that effective when you have a great quarterback and a guy that's a first-round talent, and Michael Penix Jr. Doesn't get any easier as you have a Tagovailoa coming into Spartan Stadium this week, who's a little bit more elusive. He can run around. And
he can beat you with both. You're right, Stray.
Yeah. Now, I've been bashing on it, obviously, but I'm just keeping a buck. But, Mangum had 8 tackles and 1 interception, right? Like, there's still some good in this standpoint of, like, we still have, like I said, we have guys that are capable of doing it. It's really understanding. It's going to click, and it's going to be a better product, more so on the competitive level of compete till it's over, and not just let this happen like it did last weekend. But I know we've been speaking a lot on it, but
hey,
I know,
like Stray said,
let the spirit move you.
Don't come back and say, man, why did it go so long? Just so you know.
We're going to talk about the elephant in the room.
What's that?
We're going to talk about the elephant in the room that people trying to, ask about the quarterback situation.
How you gonna point out the elephant in the room?
Shirt that was the elephant.
I was about to say that. That boy looking like the galaxy, boy. I tell you.
Straight. Well, we first came on Straight said, you get that shit look like you should be drinking a Mai Tai.
Right. See just galaxy explosions.
You're like Terry Crews.
Universe. Man.
Look, well, let's get some good news and come on, man. Let's get to the good news of some of the stuff that happened as this week transpired last week. Of all the news, there was still some good happening. Celebrations.
It's customary. Look, nobody has ever said that Caden Hauser is a bum. He's not. He's a very able quarterback, and we have a lot of depth at quarterback. So clearly, when you have a quarterback that's a QB1 and he struggles, there were protection issues, a lot of them. He got hit early in the ball game on an unacceptable play. And we've talked, I've had a conversation with the guy. Unacceptable to give up a hit on a naked bootleg. Just can't do it. Just can't. That you just don't allow that to happen. I would rather see an offensive lineman tackle somebody blatantly in the middle of the field than to give up a hit on a guy as he's reaching and throwing the ball and hitting him in the shoulder. That's dangerous, and we were fortunate that he wasn't put out of the game for that. So Caden Hauser, yes, in mop up late in the game, it was way out of reach. He was able to come down and limit in the shutout, which was great. And it's good for his confidence to be able to do that. Similar to what Noah Kim had done a year ago, guys. So look, nobody's saying that anybody's, less than in this situation. But right now, Noah Kim is still the guy. Don't start that quarterback.
Noah Kim is the
relax. That's what it is.
People
relax.
And Noah Kim's the starter. He should be the starter. He won the position in spring ball. He won the position in fall camp. Obviously there's something there.